So here we are. If you stumbled across one of my recent videos after not seeing my content for months, then I completely get why you might think that I've had work done. The comments have been rolling in, and while many are genuinely curious and really quite sweet, some are, well, let's just say less than complimentary. But here's the thing. I'd rather tackle this head on in this video than to keep fielding the same questions in the comments, because I just don't have time in my life to sit here for hours doing that. So, the consensus among a select few seems to be that I must have had a facelift, a nose job, a truckload of Botox and filler, a gastric band, and that I'm essentially held together by medical thread. And the truth is, while some of those things would be super tempting, I mean, if I had the means and the courage to go under the knife to fix this potato on my face, then I would, but I haven't. Not the cutty stitch stuff anyway. So let's clear the air once and for all. This is the complete lowdown on everything that I have and that I haven't had done to my face. And why, if you look back at one of my first videos from almost 6 years ago, I completely understand why you think I look like a completely different person. The glow up has been real. And yes, I agree, the results are genuinely on par with professional treatment. But I mean, come on, let's not forget that this is the culmination of 6 years of effort, of education, of training, and of absolute dedication. This didn't happen overnight. This wasn't a quick surgical fix. This was a war fought daily, one small device at a time, and I guess I won. Alright, before we even get into the injectables and the tech, we need to address two giant elephants in the room, and they have absolutely nothing to do with needles or scalpels. The facelift and the weight loss. This one, it genuinely cracks me up. But I get it. I look snatched, I look lifted, and my skin looks good. People jump straight to a deep plane facelift or a mini lift, but the real secret is far more simple and honestly far more painful and time consuming. It's no secret that over the past 15 months I have literally worked my butt off and dropped a massive 60 kilograms. That's over 9 stone for those of us in the UK, or over 132 pounds for those in America. There is no gastric band in here. I've not had anything done to my stomach surgically or with injections, and the weight loss like that is a significant physical change. And here's the wild part. I'm now exactly the same weight that I was when I started this YouTube channel. Exactly. So why did I look older, softer and more tired 6 years ago at this same weight? Because really the only difference between 2019 TJ and today's TJ is the quality of my skin. Basically, I now have skin that is loaded with collagen, elastin and youth. And the real feat here isn't the 60 kilogram drop, it's the fact that I've managed to get my facial skin to snap back after that huge loss. And also doing that when I'm heading towards 45. Now, you know what? The loose skin struggle is real, and the skin tightening is thanks to my dedicated device regime. The microneedling, the radio frequency, the HIFU, the exosome therapy, but we'll talk about all of that later. But they literally rebuilt my facial structure, my skin integrity, and my confidence. And people sometimes comment that my lips look different or my smile seems wider. Nuh-uh, it's simple. My lips look a little different because I had veneers on my 2 front teeth right here. Now, only these 2 were done. I'm a huge believer in that philosophy that little changes make the biggest differences. And for me, doing just these 2 teeth, completely the right choice. So nope, I'm afraid you're wrong, no lip fillers. So moving on to the injectables. Now, it's no secret that in the past, I've used Botox. I'm not ashamed of that, but I currently have 0 Botox in my face, and it's almost a year now since I had my last lot of Botox done. And here's why. Microneedling with this, the Calcium Professional Serum, it literally improved my skin quality to the point where I could go without Botox. Now, I'm not an overly animated or an overly expressive person, so my face, as I've mentioned before, its default is resting bitch face. But just because I actively choose not to be overly expressive with my facial movements, it doesn't mean that I can't move my face. The forehead, it moves significantly. The brows can go up individually. There's nothing around the lips. Like, I can literally, my face completely free of neurotoxin. I'm just kind of more of a poker face kind of person. And you know what? That's okay. But the calcium and the microneedling also means that any facial lines from a lot of facial expression. They're just not going to set in because I'm literally resetting my skin almost on the daily. But since introducing the calcium into my life, which was at the same time that I stopped using the Botox, what happened was really, to me, fascinating, because as my skin's collagen density increased through consistent microneedling and the use of the PTT6 stem cell technology that you find in the professional serum and in the multi-action cream, those dynamic wrinkles that would normally etch themselves deeper with each expression, they started behaving differently. So instead of creasing and staying creased, my skin just developed enough resilience and bounce back to handle movement without that permanent damage. Inside the serum you have the exosomes and the growth factors, which were literally rebuilding my skin's structural integrity at the cellular level. And when you've got healthier, more elastic skin with proper collagen support, you're less likely to want to paralyze your muscles to prevent those wrinkles because the skin itself becomes strong enough to spring back into place. It's been almost a year now of natural movement, and rather than seeing my lines worsen, they've actually softened, and that's the power of actually rebuilding your skin's foundation rather than just masking the problem by stopping the muscle movement. But with that said, by paralyzing the facial muscles with neuromodulators, neurotoxins, anti-wrinkle injections, whatever you want to call them, and combining it with microneedling, with exosome therapy, with all of those topical actives that are designed to thicken up your dermis, you actually give your skin the very best foundations to repair itself, because by preventing that movement, your skin is able to focus on the reparative and regenerative side. Once you're happy with how it's looking, with how it's feeling, then you can ease back on those injections and you can enjoy the benefits. Botox is amazing. No Botox, also amazing. At the end of the day, you've just got to do you. All right, now filler. And this one I'm absolutely happy to admit to, because it was a conscious, strategic choice. I have had 1 ml of hyaluronic acid filler in each of my gonial angles, which is the sharp corner of the lower jaw right here. And I had this done to masculinize my jawline because I always felt that I had too much of a V shape. I wanted that sharper contour, that defined angle, which can often be lost as we age. But for me, I really did keep it minimal and I kept it precise, because really a little bit of filler, it goes a long, long way to defining that lower third of the face. And frankly, I love the results. But separately, as we're on the subject, I also had a ridiculously small amount, just 0.5 mils of filler placed in the tip of my nose, just to give it a little bit of definition. In the grand scheme of things, it's barely anything, but it was a non-surgical way to address a minor insecurity, and it gave me this potato that I've been blessed with just a little bit more definition. And no, none of this was kept hidden. I literally posted it onto my socials when I went to the clinic and I had my nose done, when I had my gonial angle done. It's minimal, it was strategic, and it's effective. And when the time comes, I'll have it topped up again. I'm not hiding or concealing anything from anyone. I'm not making massive changes with it. Little tweaks in combination with everything else that I do. And it makes me feel good in here. It makes me feel good in here. And that's all I care about. So, as I said, I don't have any lip filler. I did used to get the lip flip with a little bit of Botox just placed above the lip to help elevate the lip. But in the past, I have tried lip filler. I went in thinking, okay, let's just enhance what's there. So I had 0.5 mils placed in my upper lip, which was like literally 2 years ago. And I will tell you right now that I just didn't like the look of it. It didn't settle the way that I wanted it to. It looked a little bit too puffy, a little bit too ducky. And really, it just changed the way that my face looked in a way that I wasn't happy with. You know, it just wasn't for me. So that one was a one and done experiment. And I'm happy to report that that trial ended quickly. But what I did love, however, like I said, was the lip flip effect. Well, I used to have literally like 8 units of Botox placed along the upper lip line to achieve that subtle, non-volumizing version of the lip, I guess. And it gives you just a little extra show of the pink without adding bulk, which, especially for guys, if you kind of want to have a little bit more lip without it being obviously filled, then a lip flip, way to go. I mean, to me, is genius, but again, I am currently completely free from any neurotoxins. So what you're seeing here is au naturel. All right, so next up, polynucleotides. So I tried injectable polynucleotides back in 2021, and I'm going to be frank here, I just really didn't feel like they made much of a difference for the price, which was astronomical. You're paying huge money for a few vials of something that for me, just didn't deliver the wow factor. So I decided that they simply weren't worth the investment for my face, and my focus shifted to topicals. Basically, I just figured, if the ingredient is good, how do I get it into the skin without the high cost and the low predictability of the injection? The answer? Topical PDRN, which is a form of polynucleotide. Now obviously it works differently, but it works well for my needs because this is me. I pair it with technology. To help with the PDRN penetration into the skin, I use electroporation. Now if you're not familiar with electroporation, it uses electrical pulses to temporarily disrupt the skin's barrier, creating those microscopic channels that allow those larger, expensive molecules to sneak into the dermis, exactly where they need to be to do their job. For me, it's one of the ultimate biohacking ways to maximize the effectiveness of a topical ingredient. Now, talking about things in the body, next up we've got PRP, which is platelet-rich plasma. It's also known as the vampire facial. And the way that I look at PRP is that it's the body's own natural booster. And this is one that I am not only happy to admit to, but it's one that I love having done. Now, like I said, we all know this as the vampire facial, which sounds ridiculous, but the science is pretty fantastic. So over the last 4 years, I've had PRP performed several times, mainly on my face and the backs of my hands. And I also get it consistently every 8 weeks in my scalp, which I've been having done now for the last 2.5 years, which is amazing for the hair growth. Now, why do I love it? PRP, it involves drawing a little bit of your own blood, spinning it in a centrifuge to isolate the platelet-rich plasma, which is concentrated with your body's own growth factors and healing signals. You're literally re-injecting your body's best healing material. And I kind of love that I get to use my body's own internal signals to boost complexion and to accelerate regeneration. There's almost zero risk of an allergic reaction because it's you that you're injecting into you. The results for my hair have been incredible, and for my face, it provides a healing boost that nothing else can really replicate. Alright, so at the start of the video, I said that we'd touch on the things that I've done to get the facelift effect. And this is the one that I've seen mentioned a fair few times, and I get it, my skin, it looks good. But like I said earlier, surgery is just not an option for me right now, neither mentally nor financially. But also, having a facelift would completely wipe out my entire business model. So it's just not in the pipeline for many years. I'm not saying that I will never ever have a facelift, but you know, I'm more of a firm believer in preventative treatments. So I guess in place of being cut into, I have had several professional HIFU or high intensity focused ultrasound sessions, as well as regular radio frequency microneedling, EMS, microcurrent, all of these things you see me doing across my channel, because these provide the deep multi-layered lift that I've been looking for. But the real magic is my daily stack. I use my stem cell PTT6 serum daily, and I rotate my devices meticulously. EMS, microcurrent, electroporation, red light therapy, cold plasma. It's a lot. I get that it's a lot, but it works. And that consistency is what creates the lift. I also regularly use EMS and microcurrent and nanocurrent on my face and neck area regularly, along with the occasional neck only HIFU session, which is how I avoid needing to have a neck lift. So while we're on the subject of lifts, let's talk thread lifts. Back in 2020, I was experimenting with PDO threads. It's no secret. And I gave them a real fair go. I put them in my lower face, trying to create that lift and tighten up my jawline during my early experimentation phase. But PDO threads remain firmly back in 2020 because for me, they're retired. The fundamental issue is that a thread lift is essentially a temporary physical scaffold. It's an external prop, if you will. You're relying on creating immediate tension, and then you have to cross your fingers and hope that the collagen production your body generates around the thread is enough to hold the structure once the thread itself dissolves. For me, I just found the results too unpredictable for the amount of downtime and sheer discomfort. The pulling, the bruising, the weird dimpling. Yeah, sometimes you get fantastic collagen, and sometimes, if you're in the wrong layer, you get almost none. Now, with that said, that's not to say that people don't have amazing results with them. In fact, some of my friends have had spectacular results. Hi Dana. But for me, I guess I'm just all about the devices. I'm far more of a believer in the consistent, controlled, long-term collagen building that comes from energy devices like HIFU like radio frequency and electroporation to apply that controlled stress to the dermis, forcing the fibroblast cells to produce new collagen and elastin, I guess, on a schedule. It's an investment in a predictable internal structure that you can control, rather than hoping that some dissolvable piece of string does the heavy lifting. Like I said, no hate for threads because I've seen people that have had spectacular results from them. But for me, I guess I just don't have a place for those threads myself in my life anymore. Alright, let's move on to the next one, which I'm often accused of having, which is the upper and lower blepharoplasty, also known as eyelid surgery. And when it comes to the brows, I've also had people accuse me of having a brow lift. No, there's literally been no surgery anywhere on my face, especially around my eyes or my eyebrows. I've not had eyelid surgery, I've not had a brow lift, I've not had anything lifted. Again, when the time is right, you know, I will consider having a blepharoplasty because that loose upper eyelid skin is a bugger. The phobia that I've got about being put under or being anaesthetized, it's literally the thing of nightmares for me. There's a whole backstory as to why I'm scared of being put under or put out for surgery. And yeah, there are things that I can have done, like I could have a blepharoplasty and I don't have to be put under. It's super fast apparently, can be done with just local anesthesia. That is fine, but general anesthesia, like if I wanted to go to get my nose done, which, you know, if I was brave enough and I literally didn't have a panic attack at the thought of being put under, this would have been changed already. It would take a lot of mental courage for me to go down this route of having surgery, which is why I've not done it. Now, for the lifting and the tightening of the eye skin, it's no secret how I've done it because a lot of you guys have seen it across my channel over the years. And it's all thanks to targeted use of HIFU and radio frequency above the brow, above the upper lid area by raising the brow and focusing on the skin on the brow bone. Because you can't safely put these powerful devices directly on the eyelid, but treating the forehead and the tissue above the eye, it basically targets the deep connective tissue or the hypodermis that supports the brow structure and the upper eyelid. Back in 2021, I did actually do my upper eyelids with a plasma pen, and it absolutely did work for me at the time for what I needed, because if you saw my skin condition back in 2021, it wasn't pretty. Basically, it gave that aggressive tightening, shrink wrap effect that I needed. But there's also a reason why I don't use plasma pens anymore, and that's because the device carries some pretty huge risks. You've got the prolonged downtime, there is horrific swelling, and a real high risk of post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, especially as you get older. Plus there's always a risk of infection and over tightening. Now, like I said, I wouldn't use a plasma pen now, and I really do think that there are safer, less aggressive and more consistent ways to treat loose eye skin through controlled energy devices and topicals like Callus-In PTT6. Technology, both mechanically and biologically, has advanced so much over the last few years, and the things that are possible at home that I couldn't even do 5 years ago that I can do now, it's still, even for me who is an expert with all of this stuff, it blows my mind. So, on to the next one. Chemical peels and laser resurfacing. So, I feel like people assume that I'm bathing in acid or getting my face stripped by a laser, but the opposite is true, because my approach is entirely about internal rebuilding and not surface destruction. Now, I am a sensitive skin type, I do have rosacea, and I'm prone to redness. So I don't do chemical peels myself, nor professionally. In the past, I did try a TCA peel, which was towards the start of my channel back in 2020. Yeah, my poor skin went through it at the start, but I feel like it's just too aggressive for what my skin really needs now. Chemical peels rely on controlled destruction of the surface layer, and this comes with long downtime and a huge risk of PIH, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, especially on mature skin. I really feel like the microtrauma from microneedling and exosomes combined with laser gives me better, more controlled results by working underneath the surface of the skin. So yeah, I've not had laser resurfacing of any kind whatsoever. However, lasers do build the foundations of my skincare routine. The Dermraze Revive laser is my ride or die. This laser is honestly one of the most amazing things that I've ever introduced into my routine. As a standalone it is good, but in combination with the Nera Pro Plus laser, which is also one of the very best lasers you can get on the market, when it comes to anti-aging skincare. Combined, these two lasers build what I would estimate approximately 40% of my total skincare routine, which is a huge proportion of it. Both of these lasers work in the skin and not on it. Both of them are non-ablative, which means that they bypass the surface and they're stimulating the dermis from deep within. The Derm Rays Revive, this one here, it uses near-infrared light to reduce inflammation and support healing, while the Nera Pro Plus uses non-fractional laser to heat the dermis and to stimulate collagen, and all without ever damaging that top layer. That subtle, consistent internal heating is way more invaluable for long-term skin health than a single high-risk ablative treatment. And if you're looking at starting your own DIY skincare journey at home for that home skin tightening, for taking care of pigmentation issues, for wrinkles, fine lines, any of that stuff, you really should look into these two, because for me, I literally would never be without these now, like literally ever. I just think that they're amazing. So there you have it, the complete, transparent and absolutely unfiltered truth on everything that I've been accused of and everything I've actually done. But the bottom line is this: I have never had cosmetic surgery. I have never ever been cut into. My skin transformation, or my glow up, is the result of 6 years of consistent, obsessive dedication. I am a vegetarian, so I have a really healthy diet. I take supplementation like nicotinamide mononucleotide, or NMN, which is an NAD plus precursor. I take all of my omega oils daily. I take a decent collagen and hyaluronic acid supplement daily. This entire journey is living proof that commitment really is the currency of change, and that you don't need a surgeon's scalpel. You just need a strategic plan and the bloody discipline to follow it. I mean, in the future, who knows? I am only 44 years old, but if and when that day comes, like, I'll be filming it, because there's absolutely no shame in cosmetic surgery whatsoever. You've got to do what is right for you, what makes you feel good inside. People who say grow old gracefully, you know, how about we don't tell people what they should be doing with themselves and let them do what they want? Because at the end of the day, it's none of my business, and it's definitely none of your business. So there you have it. Everything that I've had done, everything that I've tried, everything that I've not had done. I'm TJ. I'm 44 years old. Yes, I'm a guy working in an anti-aging skincare world. And you know what? I love it. Anyway, I'm going to wrap things up here because I'm due a session with my callousing right now. But yeah, I hope this answered a lot of your questions that you've had or that you may have had. If you've got any more questions, the comments are always open, so, you know, feel free to get the conversation started or ask me whatever you want. I'm pretty much an open book. I've got nothing to hide. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. So, till then, TJ, over and out.